So some crazy shit has happened. Some fucking some just absolutely nuts shit. What was it, a week ago we were talking about I was worried that George Floyd's death would just be another statistic swept under the rug, and it seems like it has sparked a massive change in uprising. And I hope that this change continues because this is some much needed change for parity and equity in our society. So I thought we'd start off today seeing Trump's response to it from yesterday. A 7 minute speech wherein he basically goes completely mask off with the fascism. So let's take a look. Glad they got a windsock for the microphone they're using. Derp. Knew I forgot something.
Thank you very much. My fellow Americans, my first and highest duty as president is to defend our great country and the American people. I swore an oath to uphold the laws of our nation, and that is exactly what I will do. All Americans were rightly.
I think it would be more fun to pull a MST3K and just have people from the audience come into Discord and just parrot lines over him, but let's hear what he actually has to say here.
Sickened and revolted by the brutal death of George Floyd. My administration is fully committed that for George and his family, justice will be served. He will not have died in vain. But we cannot allow the righteous cries and peaceful protesters to be drowned out by an angry mob. The biggest victims of the rioting are peace-loving citizens in our poorest communities. And as their president, I will fight to keep them safe. I will fight.
The poorest communities have been almost unhurt, completely untouched by the rioting and looting. So this is just a complete lie. Like, I agree, things need to be done for people in the poorest communities, but not because of them being impacted by this rioting, but because they're the ones rioting.
Fight to protect you. I am your president of law and order and an
Law and Order, not just a TV show anymore. Actually, Law and Order goes back at least as far as Nixon as a fucking fascistic dog whistle.
Ally of all peaceful protesters. But in recent days, our nation has been gripped by professional anarchists, violent mobs, arsonists, looters, criminals.
Hey, if anyone knows where you can apply to be a professional or anarchist, drop me a DM for a friend.
Rioters, Antifa, and others. A number of state and local governments have failed to take necessary action to safeguard their residents. Innocent people have been savagely beaten, like the young man in Dallas, Texas, who was left dying on the street, or the woman in upstate New York viciously attacked by dangerous
Believe the man he's speaking about in Dallas is the one who uh, went at the crowd with a sword because he wanted to be a hero and stop the rioters, right? Or is that a different person? And of course, he's leaving out all the innocent people who have been hit with gas cans and uh, rubber bullets and beat to shit by cops. So, yeah. Just ignore those people, right, Trump?
Dangerous thugs. Small business owners have seen their dreams utterly destroyed. New York's finest have been hit in the face with bricks. Brave nurses who have battled the virus are afraid to leave their homes. A police precinct has been overrun here in the nation's capital. The Lincoln Memorial and the World War II Memorial have been vandalized. One of our most historic churches was set ablaze. A federal officer in California, an African-American enforcement hero, was shot and killed. These are not acts of peaceful protest. These are acts of domestic terror. The destruction of innocent life and the spilling of innocent blood is an offense to.
So I will now be declaring the United States Police Force a terrorist organization. Nothing will actually change. We will continue to fund them as we do with international terror groups. But just to be clear, that's not actually what he's going to say. It's what he should say. You've been this outraged each individual death, talked about them in. Yeah, imagine the 100,000 people who have died to COVID getting this kind of eulogy. He'd have to actually be here for more than 7 minutes.
Humanity and a crime against God. America needs creation, not destruction. Cooperation, not contempt. Security.
When I first heard that soundbite, America needs creation, not destruction, I did kind of wonder if this was a dog whistle to, creationist groups. I know that Trump has a great deal of support among evangelical Christians, the ones who are most likely to support creationism, but I haven't heard him come out and explicitly support creationism. One thing I'll say is he makes a lot of mouth sounds about God and religion, but he doesn't seem to actually follow that dogma. Aside from his speculations about vaccines, it doesn't seem like there's a great deal of effort put into coming off as some sort of big Christian dude. But, we all remember from the primaries when he was talking about his favorite passage of the Bible and he couldn't even name one. I don't normally like to harp on his speech tics because everyone fucks up when they talk, but did you notice how he really chewed on African American like he's really uncomfortable saying it? True, Dodge. Yeah.
Security, not anarchy. Healing, not hatred. Justice, not chaos. This is our mission, and we will succeed. 100%, we will succeed. Our country always wins. That is.
Except when we don't. I know you have to play up this hard ass, America first message, but any student of history can see many times, even in recent decades, where America has, at the very least, not won. Even if you couldn't really call it a loss. Certainly couldn't call it a victory.
Is why I am taking immediate presidential action to stop the violence and restore security and safety in America. I am mobilizing all available federal resources, civilian and military, to stop the rioting and looting, to end the destruction and arson, and to protect the rights of law-abiding Americans, including your Second Amendment rights. Therefore,
why did he specifically mention the Second Amendment rights? Because it's our First Amendment rights that you're trying to trample on by bringing in the military to shut down protests. Because make no mistake, despite the fact that he's going to talk about how we need to stop the rioting and the looting. The rioting and the looting are a response to the police response to the peaceful protests. And we'll get to that in a minute. But this idea that he needs to defend the Second Amendment, that's not at risk here. I don't think anyone is trying to repeal or countermand the Second Amendment here. What you are doing is directly attacking the First Amendment.
The following measures are going into effect immediately. First, we are ending the riots and lawlessness that has spread throughout our country. We will end it now. Today, I have strongly recommended to every governor to deploy the National Guard in sufficient numbers that we dominate the streets. Mayors and
dominate the streets. He just can't stop talking in that fiery rhetoric. It's really crazy. What we need right now is a leader who's willing to empathize and work with the people who are involved in these riots, not someone who's going to deploy the military to shut down these protests. That's just going to cause more problems, more rioting, more deaths.
Governors must establish an overwhelming law enforcement presence until the violence has been quelled.
The safe word is covfefe.
If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
This is one of the major problems with the toothless liberal impeachment of Trump. I remember a lot of people saying, yeah, but he's forever impeached. It did nothing and just gave him the message that he could do whatever he wanted, that he was truly above the law, that he is truly above the law. Because this is illegal to deploy tear gas on protesters, to send the military in without the governors asking for it. This is against the law. You think he's going to see any kind of issue with this? Any kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Any kind of prosecution or what have you? Nah.
I'm also taking swift and decisive action to protect our great capital, Washington, D.C. What happened in this city last night was a total disgrace. As we speak, I am dispatching thousands and thousands of heavily armed soldiers, military personnel, and law enforcement officers to stop the rioting, looting, vandalism, assaults, and the wanton destruction of property. We are putting everybody on warning. Our 7 o'clock curfew will be strictly enforced. Those who threaten innocent life and property will be arrested, detained, and prosecuted.
You know, something I never thought about until someone else pointed it out about curfews like this. What about people who work third shift? Or like I used to work second shift, which means I got off at 11 p.m. Now, I'm white, so I truly wouldn't really worry about it. But I worked with several black and brown people. Some of them even had to walk home. What if they're walking home from work? You know, they just got off the shift. They're tired. They're beat. The cop rolls up, like, what are you doing out? What are the odds that's going to end peacefully? I mean, we've had riots in my city the last night or two. I guess last night was pretty quiet, but the night before we had several shootings and break-ins. I want to make it clear, not as far as I can tell related to the protests. These were opportunists trying to basically just work in the confusion. But, you know, if you're saying everyone has to be at home by 7 p.m., what about people who work nights? What about people who get off at 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night? Are those people just not supposed to go to work? Are they supposed to leave work early? Because most people who'd work those shifts don't have that luxury, my dude.
Prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I want the organizers of this terror to be on notice that you will face severe criminal penalties and lengthy sentences.
Given that, particularly in Minneapolis, and I haven't heard necessarily about LA, but a lot of areas, the instigators are the police, which we have on film, or white supremacist groups coming in to discredit the movement. Are you really going to prosecute the organizers of the violent actions? Because again, that's not the same thing as the organizers of the protests. The protest organizers are going out of their way to keep it peaceful, which peaceful protest does less than nothing. But like, you have to be willing to respond but not instigate, is what I'm saying. So if you're really going to prosecute the organizers of this violence, you're going to be prosecuting a number of your own loyal supporters, Trump.
In jail. This includes Antifa and others who are leading instigators of this violence. One law and order, and that is what it is. One law. We have one beautiful law. And
which law is that? Please explain. And again, Antifa is not an organization. It is a mode of action. By declaring Antifa a terrorist organization, which is unlikely to actually hold up in court, but by trying to do that, he's essentially making any kind of anti-fascist action or resistance illegal. And given that a lot of what we protest against is proto-fascist, a lot of what I do is anti-fascist, that makes this very stream illegal according to Trump's rhetoric. What exactly am I doing that's illegal?
And once that is restored and fully restored, we will help you, we will help your business, and we will help your family. America is founded upon the rule of law. It is the foundation of our prosperity, our freedom, and our very way of life. But where there is no law, there is no opportunity. Where there is no justice, there is no liberty. Where there is no safety, there is no future. We must never give in to anger or hatred. If malice or violence reigns, then none of us is free. I take these actions today with firm resolve and with a true and passionate love for our country. By far, our greatest days lie ahead. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to pay my respects to a very, very special place. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the rest of this is just him walking away. So, yeah. So there's a common refrain, particularly among protesters and whatnot: no justice, no peace. And that's what we're seeing right now. No justice, no peace. There's not been justice for George Floyd, although apparently the rumor that Chauvin was taken into protective custody and not actually arrested is just that, a rumor. He was in fact arrested and is awaiting trial. But for third degree murder or manslaughter, for sitting on a man's neck for 8 minutes and listening to him say how he couldn't breathe, no justice, no peace. I really do think that is the rallying cry we should stand behind. When he tear gassed a crowd to go to a church for a photo op, probably. Probably, Dodge. So next I want to take a look at, well, some pretty bad shit. Major content warning here. There will be a lot of violence.
Press! 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 Press!
Remember that even in times of war, press are usually respected and not engaged with because they're non combatants.
Press! Press! I'm press! I am press!
I don't care. Get down.
Okay, I'm down. I'm down.
Stay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is another one where the police fire on press.
Okay.
Okay, well, you keep going and go where you gotta go, and that's fine with us.
Okay.
We got plenty of time here.
Are you okay?
I'm getting shot! I'm getting
Katie, are you okay?
rubber bullets, rubber bullets. It's okay. It's those pepper bullets. It's those
Are
pepper
they?
bullets. That
Who
you
are
shot
they
me in the
aiming
shin.
that at?
Nice shooting at the
At
photographer.
us, like directly at us. Directly
Why
at
are they
us.
doing that?
Who's shooting at our crew?
I don't
Do
know.
they not
We
know
were
that?
behind
Obviously,
their
they see
line.
the camera. Okay.
Okay, well, you keep going and
When
go where you
police
gotta go.
start shooting at press, when they start arresting press, when they start shivvying them out of areas, why do you think that'd be? Uh, Decades, really a century and a half of systemic oppression of people being second class citizens in their own country has finally reached a boiling point. This is another situation. We'll come back to this one. Yeah. When I was talking about police violence, so I saw some people in the comments talking about how the cop told him to move and he didn't, or what have you. In my mind, this officer deliberately instigated this because if you deliberately ride between someone and the wall, you are literally giving them the option to restrict your passage. So, and didn't really look to me like dude deliberately tried to restrict passage.
Let him go! Pigs!
That's dirty. You just want to be out.
You're fucking pigs!
Let him go.
Yeah. Make a move, get them to respond, and form a line so you can arrest him. This is what they've been doing. This. Yeah, we'll come back to this one. I saw this one originally. What was funny, if I remember correctly, about this one was that it was in a like a lower section of the people having Is there an issue with the stream? I see Regna Gamer is requesting to turn the bitrate down a bit. So if people are having an issue, I can do that. I'd have to restart the stream, but so I remember seeing this one. I believe it was this one. It started off like they had this kind of a split screen picture-in-picture thing where they had a larger screen of a woman, a reporter walking around to get interview footage, and then this screen here. And then someone in the control booth was like, "Oops, I hit the wrong button," and full screened this. And the reporter kept saying, "Cut to our feed, cut to our feed, cut to our feed."
Guys, come to our shot. Come to our shot.
Yeah, you can hear her saying, "Come to our shot." That's the other person who's somewhere else. Because obviously they don't want to show this on media because then the information gets out. I have heard from reliable sources, although I've not been able to find the footage, that there is video of what happened prior to this, and that the people in this car did nothing wrong.
Guys, come to our shot. Come to our shot. Come to our shot. Watch your back down. Come to our shot.
So yeah. If anyone knows where to find the footage, I will happily review it, especially if it shows something different than them just calmly driving through the area. But no one deserves to get tased and then have their tire flattened and just fucking... This is what we're talking about. This right here. Yeah, Reddit Gamer, Regna Gamer, I agree. I support the protesters and the people, particularly in Minneapolis, who burned the fire department. Or not the fire department, burned the police department. I support them. But I don't think that gives the police the right to just pull over, tase, and assault any people they see in an area. This is connected to that. Here's another instance.
What's better than that? We are all people. All of you are my family. All of you are my family. I love each and every one of you. I cry at night because I feel your pain. I feel the pain. I feel the pain of black people. I feel the pain of white people. I feel the pain of innocent cops. I feel the pain. We're all scared. Black, white, cop, doesn't matter. We're all scared. We're living in fear. You gotta stop living in fear. I am not your enemy. You are not my enemy. We have to share this land no matter what. By the end of the day, we have to share this land no matter what. I'm here for you. I'm here with you.
So an innocent kid screaming his empathy and compassion for everyone involved and talking about we are not enemies. We have to share this land. Good stuff.
I'm not angry at none of you. I love all of y'all. I don't care if you 5'2". I don't care if you're a 7-footer. I don't care if you're dark skinned. I don't care if you're light skinned. I don't care if you're white. Fast or not, uniform or not. You are my family and I love you and I respect you. And I want to understand y'all. I want to understand all of you. I want to. I deeply want to understand you. I would love to come to your house. I would love to meet your kids. I would love to meet your family. I would love to see the best side of everybody here. This is not the best side of everybody here. I would love to see the best side of everybody here. Then you can change the whole perspective of how you view someone. Because of their size. Because of how you see them in different lights. Someone might have a bad day and you say they're a bad person. No, no, no. We all got bad days. We all got bad days. We gotta stop judging people only on our bad days. Because we all have them to some degree. How are you on your good days? Do you want to make a stand? Do you want to make a change? Because if you charge you, if you charge us, what is that really doing? What is that really doing?
Come on, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Fuck you! Fuck you! What the fuck did you do?
Are you fucking kidding me?
For what? For what?
Freedom of speech! No! What did he do to you? It's unconstitutional.
What the actual fuck? They were just sitting there. He was making an impassioned speech to them. And they came up, hauled him away, and put him in handcuffs. Huh. Most of us can read the writing on the wall. We just assume it's addressed to someone else. They have riot gear on. They have their batons displayed in an effort to intimidate and control the crowd. Lined up with support officers behind them. They're treating this as a riot, so they're responding as if it is. Formally leading... Oh, okay. So they thought they were basically following their riot procedure training and saw him as the leader, which he undoubtedly was leading at least that section of the crowd. And you get them out and it disperses the crowd. Yeah. So this is a major issue with American policing. How the way that the U.S. police force, especially in the last 30 years or so, has become so militarized and so bolstered as this pseudo-military organization instead of an organization for keeping communities safe. A lot of cops seem to think they're actually soldiers fighting a war. And that is a bad mindset for police to have. You don't want the people you call for domestic disturbance, for whatever kind of military, whatever kind of peace situation happens in a community, to have the mindset of soldiers going into a war zone. Because soldiers going into a war zone are going to be the ones who are on high alert for threats. They're the ones who are going to talk about, they're the ones who are going to react to perceived threats violently and lethally. And especially with something like a domestic disturbance, where emotions are at least going to be running high, and there may be some anger and whatnot in there. You don't want someone walking in who's going to react to someone moving quickly by pulling his gun and shooting them, or by hitting them with a baton, or what have you. So I wanted to kind of revisit Trump's decision to label Antifa as a terrorist organization. And specifically thanks to this wonderful thread compiled by Rational Disconnect, who is a hell of a comrade, about a real terrorist organization who all but has the president's approval. Now, I'm sure many of you know who the Proud Boys are. But just in case you maybe thought they were a drinking club who got into some scrapes or something, let's listen to the founders' words themselves. Waginator, what exactly do you mean by every Antifa member a complete failure in life? Because, once again, there's no group Antifa to belong to.
I started this gang called the Proud Boys. And
the Proud Boys?
The Proud Boys.
What's Proud Boys about?
We will kill you. That's the Proud Boys in a nutshell. We will kill you. We look nice. We seem soft, we have boys in our name, but like Bill the Butcher and the Bowery Boys, we will assassinate you. Now, part of the reason I agree to do the talk is because I'm allowed to bring all my guys. And we can fight our way in and fight our way out. Beating the shit out of these people. I think it's our job to do it. And the cops just turn a blind eye. If you're wearing a MAGA hat, as Sal is right now, Sal's in the studio, folks.
Oh my God, it's Sal Cipolla. Where are you from?
I'm here.
Wow, you came a long way.
If you're wearing a MAGA hat, and some guy with a slightly punk demeanor comes up to you and says, "Hey, are you Sal or are you pro-Trump?" Choke him. Trust your instincts. Don't listen to what he has to say. Choke him. If I do a video where I say, how about we start throwing bricks? Is that legal? You can't call for violence on a specific person, but can you say...
Antifa is not a group. LMAO. Antifa's new tagline is being rightfully declared commie terrorist. Was that the latest Antifa memo? No. Can you... Excuse me. Wagonator, can you point me to a website where I can join Antifa? Can you point me to an application system, perhaps some sort of a membership list? Can you point me to a recruitment drive or system? Can you do any of that to demonstrate the Antifa organization? Yeah, forgetfulistic, however you pronounce that. Yeah, the one of the major Twitter agitators under the name of Antifa was founded by a white nationalist organization. Possibly an ex-Proud Boy.
They're throwing bricks, we should throw bricks. Can you call for violence generally? Because I am. Fighting solves everything. We need more violence from the Trump.
That's Gavin McInnes right there. The best part about this scene is that it was used by Fox News to impugn Antifa. They said that a member of Antifa came out with a sword and started attacking people when it was Gavin fucking McInnes.
People, Trump supporters, choke a motherfucker.
Yeah, I probably could. Antifa scrambling to pretend they don't even exist. Hilarious. Then by all means, do so, Wagonator. You've swallowed the whole boot so thoroughly, Wagonator, that you don't even understand how wrong you are.
Choke a bitch, choke a tranny, get your fingers around the windpipe. I want violence, I want punching in the face. I'm disappointed in Trump supporters for not punching enough. Get a fucking gun. Get ready to blow someone's fucking head off. I've even killed people in my dreams. That's how awesome my gun is.
Get in trouble, get arrested, get fired. Let's all get in this together. They can't kill us all.
Yeah, I got green tips, man. Those go through at least 3 bodies.
Oh, beautiful. Plop. I love the way he falls on his ass. They said, you want to go? I said, yeah, I want to fucking go. And I punched him in the face. And then Coulter emailed me later and she goes, conservatives never punched anyone in the face. Finally, things are turning around.
And then Malmsberg goes, you're not advocating violence, are you? And I go, I absolutely am. It's a wonderful, effective thing.
This is a fucking war.
So that's Gavin McInnes. That is the founder, former leader of the Proud Boys, a group of neo-fascist conservatives who literally will travel around to areas where they hear that progressives are organizing and protesting and get violent with them. But they're the kind of people that Trump called very good people on both sides at Charlottesville, so, Antifa are basically a collection of localized gangs, likely coordinated at some level. They largely comprise of anarcho-communists. Wow, Wagonator. feel like Wagner was just typing liberal mad words into Google and then copy pasting when he finds a true Magmill. Yeah. Is a bit useless. Are they anti-white? Are they capitalistic? Are they socialist? So, Antifa is not an organization. It is a mode of action. You can perform actions in an Antifa or anti-fascist manner, but there's no Antifa organization to belong to. Certain organizations may describe themselves as anti-fascist, but those organizations are not connected to a larger Antifa group or organization. Yeah, well, if you find an official Antifa organization, please post a link. Yeah, here it is.
In Manhattan. And the group says it's just the beginning. Trace Gallagher is tracking that for us tonight. Trace.
Here is Antifa attacks again, swords and vandalism at New York GOP office as Gavin McInnes gets out of his car. Gavin McInnes is not Antifa. He's not anti-fascist. He's not. He's just. He's the founder and leader of the Proud Boys and basically a fascist. And here's Fox News using footage of him to back up their swords and vandalism at New York GOP office. Yeah, leftist media does protect anti-fascist action. That's kind of how it works.
Shannon, it was around 1:30 in the morning when the anti-fascist or Antifa members allegedly vandalized the New York Republican headquarters in New York City. Windows were broken, doors spray painted, glue put in locks and handles. And a threatening note was also left behind saying, quote, "Tonight we put the Republican Party on notice in defiance to the policy of mass misery they have championed. The U.S. government has established concentration camps around the country for Latino people, shamelessly murders black people, and continues its war machine that has slaughtered Muslim people with impunity for decades." The note goes on to say their attack is just beginning, and it talks about Republicans inviting a, quote, hipster fascist clown to dance for them, a reference to the GOP hosting Gavin McInnes, the founder of a far-right organization.
The irony is that they're using this Antifa attacks again, lower third, to show Gavin McInnes, to act like Gavin McInnes is the one, is a member of Antifa, and then citing him as the person who is going to defend against this. To me, it sounds like Antifa might be a small subset of the whole large group of people who are protesting. So, Forgetful Isaac, the Antifa, again, is not an organization. I'm going to keep repeating this until either Wagenator leaves or it gets through his thick skull. Most, if not all, of the people in the protests were behaving in an Antifa mode. They were protesting fascism. They were in an anti-fascist mode. So to say that a small subset or even a large subset of them were Antifa is incorrect. Steven Crowder actually joined and infiltrated an Antifa group. It's on YouTube. Pretty funny. Again, there may be individual groups which join together and act in an anti-fascist capacity. But that doesn't mean there's one large organized Antifa group, or that declaring Antifa as a terrorist organization does anything other than make anti-fascist action illegal so that he can crack down on anyone politically to Trump's left to as terrorists. And everything on Antifa, if there's like a bunch of non-Antifa people rioting as well. So if leftist media protects anti-fascism, then right-wing media protects fascism? True, Dodge, yep. Not blaming it all on Antifa, they are known for violent mob tactics like this, and plenty of footage of them as well. All conservatives are chomos. Yeah, exactly, Magmo. Funny how everyone in Antifa started using the same "we're not a group" shtick at the exact same time since being labeled ever since Fox News. Yeah, they did start using it at the exact same time when Fox News started calling them an organization, acting like they were one unified group. And then when people called them Antifa, yeah, they rightfully said they're not Antifa. Does that sound like a reasonable possibility? Yeah, that's exactly what happened, Forgetful Isaac. Exactly. Yep.
Called Proud Boys, who have physically clashed with Antifa protesters on several occasions. Today, New York Republican Chairman Ed Cox called on Democrats to cease inciting these attacks.
Headquartered. You see, this is a common fascist tactic. To act like the enemy that they have created, that they need to defeat, that you need to give them the power to defeat, is so powerful and overwhelming that they are going to destroy us if they're not stopped. But at the same time, so weak and pathetic that they can be laughed at and ridiculed easily. Look at Wagenator here. Antifa is simultaneously responsible for nationwide, really worldwide, violent protests and riots and looting, and this is all part of their sinister master plan, while simultaneously being headquartered in someone's mom's basement. Do I need to really point out the further contradiction? So yeah, if you want to look at a real terrorist group, look at the Proud Boys. Look at the Three Percenters. Look at the KKK. Look at all these right-wing white nationalist groups. Antifa is not a group, let alone a terrorist organization. And even if there were a large organized Antifa movement, or organization rather, there is a large, somewhat organized Antifa movement, but they're not part of any organization. Even if there was, they're not seeking to commit acts of terror to make people afraid of them to get their way. That is why there have been so many peaceful protests that the police deliberately instigate to violence. Antifa isn't quite responsible per se. I can explain. Oh, this should be good. As a fascist, though I'm curious of the basis of his argument. I'm not saying Wagenator is a fascist, but he's definitely carrying water for fascists. Antifa are troubled children looking for a place to vent. They are guided and influenced by liberal Marxist globalist media. Yeah, definitely some big brain stuff there. Globalism is the real enemy. Antifa are just their pawns. Ooh. The way POTUS is casting Antifa as a perfect strawman villain, it allows indiscriminate action by police and state forces, giving Wog and his troglodyte horde someone to point the finger at, and successfully derails the narrative. True, Aramel, true. Wait, and there's so many of them, they managed to start all this shit? Yeah, exactly. There's a handful of troubled children looking to vent who are also responsible for this massive global uprising. Yeah, you see, it's a very, very common dichotomous tactic. And if you don't think that there are people like the Proud Boys, like American Guard, like Patriot Prayer in Minneapolis, in LA, in South Carolina, in these various places that have seen violence, trying to instigate that violence, then you don't understand how they work. Let's listen to Joe Biggs, one of the higher ups in the Proud Boys, talk about it.
Keep wasting his resources. We're going to keep coming out here. We're going to keep wasting his resources. He's going to call all the agencies that he's called. He's going to call the National Guard, the FBI, all of those people, and we're going to keep coming out here until Ted Wheeler does something.
What do you say to residents that say, we're paying taxes for this, and you're just wasting our resources?
Do they pay federal taxes like I do?
All of them pay taxes.
Perfect. Then this is just as my city as my home back in Miami. This is the United States of America.
So you've come here from Miami to waste the resources of Portland.
That wasn't our original intent.
But you just said that's what it was.
Now it is. We're going to keep coming out here. We're going to keep wasting his resources.
So yeah. And now Lennon sent it. Magna, you cannot keep claiming credit for what I'm doing as the Antifa overlord. Stop it. I don't have the whole thing, but if you think this guy is a beauty, then yeah, you are more fascist than we were giving you credit for. Also, just how fucking cringe the Proud Boys are. Is this happening on the steps of the Capitol building again? Only if kindness has brass knuckles. I believe this is a response to something that was said earlier. Ah, kindness. Group meet kindness. I'm guessing kindness is this Axe's name. And if they want to meet wisdom, all they have to do is ask. First of all, a weapon has to earn its name. You can't just give it a cringy fucking name like wisdom or kindness because it's ironic. You have to earn, the weapon has to earn its name. Second of all, calling your battle axe kindness is just cringe as fuck. Oh my god. Wagner, you legitimately think that CNN has a communist agenda? What is your definition of communist? Proud Boy member calling.
We should be smashing their head into the concrete. Handling business. Separating them from their kids. Making sure they're not with pedophiles and child molesters, people like the left. Be doing to all the illegals trying to jump over our border. We should be smashing their head into the concrete. Handling business.
Yeah, exactly, Aramel. So they can kill them with kindness. It's all funny. Maybe the best. What is communist? I hear it all the time, but never in the context I hear it in my own country. I just always like to hear these fascist motherfuckers making random shit up and calling it communism. Because it's never even close to the actual definition of communism. So, Forgetful Isaac, the actual, dictionary textbook definition of communism is a moneyless, stateless, classless society where basically everyone is organized to work for the greater good of society, and there's no private property. Everything that is used to make wealth or increase society is publicly or communally owned. It has never existed on the face of the earth, except in a few teeny tiny little conclaves, which were pretty quickly subsumed by the generally capitalist surroundings. Communism equals global slavery. The mob is riled up into overthrowing their own government and replacing it with equality, where everyone is dragged down to the same level, everyone identical, exactly the same, more like an ant hive than humanity. Whew! You could not be more wrong, Vaginator. What communists seek to do is create a world where everyone has equal opportunity, and that no one has more opportunity than another. Like, in America, theoretically, everyone has equal opportunity, but not everyone has the same amount of opportunity. Like, if you're born into a wealthy family, if you're born into a well-connected family, you have more opportunities than someone who was born into a poorer or less connected family, let alone an immigrant or, a first or second or third generation immigrant to this country. Yeah. It's because he is a fascist who wants to. Uh, he needs to paint socialism, communism as this very bad system to try to keep people from embracing it. That and socialism and communism are very much bad words in America still, so it can be hard to um, if you paint someone as a socialist or communist, it can get a lot of people to go against them just out of hand. Okay, so yeah, this is mostly about the Proud Boys and white nationalists in general, because this was basically made in response to Trump declaring Antifa as a terrorist organization. Rational Disconnect is a good guy. Very, very intelligent, has some really good Twitter threads. I wish he made more YouTube videos, because those were always good, but he hasn't made one in a while. So moving on, I want to talk about some of the people who are often used as um as examples of the crowd doing of the protesters doing harm to innocent people. So this gentleman, who we shall dub Hawkeye, so from what I understand, he yelled "All Lives Matter" and some people yelled back at him. So he decided to get out of his car, open up the back seat.
Look at him. He's fucking crazy. Yo, blast his face all over. He has a knife. He has multiple weapons, and he's like going against.
And pulls out a goddamn bow and arrow like it's the 19th century or some shit. Like, I enjoy archery. I think it's fun. I would not take a bow and arrow to a riot or protest. Bows are for guerrilla warfare.
The protesters. Fuck that. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
So notice how he wasn't swarmed until after he started firing. Now, fortunately, I found a different, longer angle of this action. So
He's got a fucking bow and arrow, man. Yo, someone knock this fucker out, man.
apparently someone on the news called this a crossbow, if that's not just perfectly indicative of the understanding of different weapons our news systems have.
Get this motherfucker, man. Fuck up.
Yeah, that may be Aramel. But Hong Kong doesn't have the kind of gun culture that people have in America. So that's why I say bows are not what I would bring to a riot, because I have access to guns. Not saying I would bring guns to a riot, but if I was stupid enough to go armed to a riot, it would not be with a bow and arrow. But yeah, I can see the protesters in Hong Kong making makeshift weapons like that to even the score against the Chinese government. I like the dude beating the windshield with his sign like that's gonna do anything.
Car's only exploding.
Fuck 12 on his overturned car. I wonder, is this gonna go into his interview?
Oh, shit's going live up here.
No, it was just dude on the fucking phone that was trying to fucking.
Yeah. He got interviewed later and tried to be all harsh about it, but yeah, that was some pretty fucked up. That was a pretty fucked up situation. Here's another instance of someone who's clearly an instigator getting getting policed by the protesters. Yeah, of course he left. He's a fucking coward. He's gonna drop his dumb bombs and hope that a couple people buy it and then leave. So there's a dude breaking up cement to make rocks to throw. Because, it's kind of hard to find rocks in a city these days. As a white peepo, I have a little bit of an issue with the people around him screaming, "Get the white people," to stop him. Now, especially since there's a number of white people who do grab him and stop him. This one being the most prominent in this particular frame.
He ain't do shit. Alright, up. You good, yo? Where's the other That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to.
Look at this motherfucker. This is a protester. This dude is ready for war. Like, this is the Antifa super soldier right here. This dude right here. Yeah. So there's definitely some bad actors in there stirring up the riots and getting them to behave, let's say, antisocially. And it is up to the people in the protests to do something about that. Because the police are not going to pay any attention to whether you were helping someone break up the cement and throw the rocks or not. They're just going to tear gas the lot, and anyone who's still there gets arrested. So if you see someone breaking up concrete, if you see someone piling up rocks, there's another video. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. Let's see. Now that's the... There was a journalist walking through a crowd, and he pointed to a truck and asked a couple of other protesters, like, hey, do you think you could flip that truck? And he pretty much immediately got shamed and ran off like a bitch. So the majority of people out here understand that we're not looking for violence, but there are enough people who seem to understand that violence is the only language the state speaks. State-threatening violence via military has historically caused exactly this. Protesters that would normally allow direct action will shill for the state and do the perceived job of the police in a misguided effort to appear compliant. We have to be willing to take action when action is taken against us. Do not instigate anything. But if police throw punches or like a... let me see if I can find it. Should be pretty simple. Surus here. Probably got taken down. And there's this one, but that's not the one I was looking for. No, it's not. Yeah, Surus either deleted it or it got deleted. But there was a video I saw of a guy who had his hands up. He was like, whatever you're the police were talking about, we're not arresting him, but or maybe they were arresting him, it doesn't matter. And then the cop just kicked him in the back because he was standing there peacefully. But yeah. There have been a number of hoaxes running around I did want to cover briefly here, thanks to BuzzFeed News. Which, unlike BuzzFeed listicles, BuzzFeed News is a very good journalist organization. First one I was completely unaware of until I read this list. TikTok is not blocking hashtags related to Black Lives Matter and George Floyd. The company said it's a bug affecting words at random. A search of TikTok confirms that the issue has since been fixed. So TikTok was not blocking Black Lives Matter. There was just an issue with the software. McDonald's has fallen is actually a Pennsylvania McDonald's that burned in 2016. The White Lives Matter image is not, or no, this is the umbrella guy who was going around breaking into the AutoZone a week ago. Some people said that this was a St. Paul Police Department member. This has not been verified. Allegedly, his ex-wife or ex-girlfriend said that he was that this was him, but That is, there's not been any solid proof as far as I'm aware. A number of people have used either stock photos or pictures of celebrities to claim people are missing in areas where they're not missing. This is another one, another post about someone's relative going missing. This is not an explosion in a police precinct. This is an explosion in Tianjin in 2015. Yeah, the thing is, a lot of people have heard bad things about BuzzFeed because of their really shit listicles they've made. But BuzzFeed News, basically, BuzzFeed puts out those shitty lists in order to finance and fund BuzzFeed News, where they actually have real journalists doing real journalistic work. So BuzzFeed News is pretty good, which is why you have to make sure it's, again, BuzzFeed News, not just BuzzFeed. So this is not a fire at a Walmart in Minneapolis. It's a burning apartment building in Minneapolis, which is not good. And again, this is, he was arrested and charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter. He was not taken into protective custody. This is about Derek Chauvin, the police officer who knelt on Floyd's back. This, I've seen a number of pictures of this, different pictures of this. This is from the 2014 Ferguson riots, not from Minneapolis. So this is clearing up. The Minnesota State Patrol claimed that when they arrested a number of CNN journalists live on TV, they didn't know they were members of the media, despite the reporters clearly saying so. And here's video of it.
We can move back to where you'd like. We can move back to where you'd like here. We are live on the air at the moment. This is the four of us. We are one team. Just put us back where you want us. We are getting out of your way, so just let us know. Wherever you'd want us, we will go. We are just getting out of your way when you were advancing through the intersection. So just let us know, and we got you. And this is a scene here playing out in Minneapolis. This is part of the advanced police presence that we saw come over the course of really minutes when the local police showed.
So at this point, arresting them is 100% a number of violations. Like, what? Why would you arrest the press for being in the area when they have been explicitly saying, hey, tell us where you want us to go so we're out of the way and we're not causing issues? Like, that, the press's job is to be there and report on things. If you don't want press in the area, there's probably a not good reason for that.
Showed up at the fire department, or with the fire department, I should say, on that building we showed you that was burning. This is among the State Patrol unit that was advancing up the street, saying and scattering the protesters.
I gotta say, I understand why he's doing what he's doing, but that's gotta be a little surreal to sit there and kind of narrate what's happened and what's been going on while he's trying to figure out, okay, am I about to be arrested? Are they going to, let me go peacefully? What's about to happen here?
To that point, for people to clear the area. And so we walked away. I'm sorry? You're under arrest. Okay. Do you mind telling me why I'm under arrest, sir? Why am I under arrest, sir?
Officer's with CNN and he's on the air right now.
Okay.
You are arresting him live on CNN. We told you before that we are with CNN.
If you're just tuning in, you are watching our correspondent, Omar Jimenez, being arrested by state police in Minnesota. We're not sure why our correspondent is being arrested.
Hang on one second, Allison. Let's listen into what these officers are saying. That is an American television reporter, Omar Jimenez, being led away by police officers. He clearly identified himself as a reporter. He was respectfully explaining to the state police that our CNN team was there and moving away as they would request. And then for some reason, he was just taken in to police custody live on television. I'm sorry, I did not.
Imagine trying to pass off clearly an arrest after knowing their press, their CNN. Imagine trying to pass it off as, oh, we didn't know they were press. We didn't know they were CNN. Bitch, it was on live national television. Dozens of people saw that. This is an interesting one. So a Minnesota TV reporter did not get caught playing fake gunshot sounds during a peaceful protest. A viral Twitter video showed KSTP reporter Richard Reeve being confronted by protesters who accused him of disrupting the event with gunshot sounds, but the station says that's not what happened. Essentially, he was recording on his phone the events that happened, which included someone firing off a gun. There were actual gunshots which he recorded, and he played it back to make sure he got a good, clean copy of it. And people thought that he was trying to incite violence with that, when in reality he was just making sure he got a good recording of it. And here's the video that he recorded.
Say his name! Say his name! He shot his name!
What a fucking idiot. So yeah, he recorded that, and he played it back to make sure he... And I can imagine in a crowd like that, suddenly hearing someone playing gunshot noises from their phone, that could be, someone trying to incite things. But, yeah, this is another hoax that a lot of people are using about instigation. Minnesota Freedom Fund warning about imitators. This is something you always got to look out for. If you want to donate, and you should, make 100% sure it's going to the correct place. As I said, Minnesota Freedom Fund does not have a Venmo. So if you see someone, this is the Minnesota Freedom Fund's Venmo account, it's definitely not. This is one I hadn't heard of until I was going through this. Apparently, there are some people out there who think that makeup is going to deter facial recognition software, and that's not how facial recognition software works. From what I understand, it works off of the shape of your eyes and lips and nose, eye color, hair color. It works on those kind of things, none of which are disrupted by face paint. Certainly not the face paint displayed here. I suppose theoretically, some sort of covering all the skin with paint might disrupt it somewhat, but I wouldn't count on it. This just seems like, some performative war paint or something. This account looks like it belongs to a CBS reporter, but it's fake and has been spreading disinformation about the protests. It uses the name of Eric Severeid, a legendary reporter who passed away in 1991. So not only is it shitty and spreading misinformation, it's doing so incredibly disrespectfully. This is one that I believed at first. They're calling it unverified. These videos that circulated of what look to be children in National Guard uniforms at barricades and whatnot. As some people pointed out, there is a height limit to be in the National Guard, and these people clearly are under it. At the same time, I don't have enough information to say here. I would like to think that there aren't children being put into National Guard uniforms, but who the fuck knows? Max Blumenthal decided this guy who tells me he's a CNN reporter. Yeah. Paulson played the man, and it was an undercover police officer and not a CNN reporter. Right. So the claim here is that a CNN reporter was actually an undercover police officer acting as an agent provocateur. Completely wrong. No evidence, just bullshit. A number of websites masquerading as news outlets, claiming information, spreading false information about the Black Lives Matter protest. This is some good advice. If a website doesn't have a reporter's name or a comprehensive about or contact us page, look for another source for the articles it has published. If it's just, what you could fit in a Twitter bio, then it's probably bullshit. This is someone kicking a gas canister away from in Lebanon last year, not the recent Black Lives Matter. It's still based as fuck. That takes some luck, skill, and fucking balls to kick a tear gas canister out of midair. And of course, the infamous Antifa playbook, which had been circulating around the internet since at least 2015. This is a complete hoax. There is no Antifa handbook. There is no. This is not a thing. Well, it is a thing which exists, but not as they're claiming it. This is one of the reasons why I thought that this George Floyd thing would just be another blip on the news and then go away in a couple of days, because this is something that literally happened. Hey, obscure leftist, thanks for the host. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. This is something that happened, when was it? Last month, when a California officer pinned a 14-year-old boy to the ground and arrested him. This was reported on. I remember this happening, and then it kind of disappeared. For one, I am glad that George Floyd has finally lit a fire, and we're actually getting some actual action and hopefully change out of this. Uncle Hugo's bookshop in Minneapolis is warning that there is no sanctioned fundraising at this time, despite a GoFundMe fundraiser that has collected over $18,000. It's times like this where I wish I had less scruples than I do, because I could probably find a Minneapolis-based business and set up a GoFundMe for it and make a bunch of money. So, generally speaking, if you see a fundraiser for a business, see if that business has a website and check it out, because they'll link to it directly from the website or some sort of social media presence. And if there's no link from their social media, then there's probably an issue. This description of a graphic video of a man being beaten up is misleading. Dallas police told BuzzFeed News. This is undoubtedly the man that Trump was referring to. This is the guy who ran at the protesters with a sword, trying to defend, in his own words, one of his favorite bars. I wish I was joking. He literally pulled out a machete and ran at protesters to defend one of his favorite bars from being attacked by the protesters. And for that, he got the shit kicked out of him, but he did not die. He is in stable condition in the hospital. He's been tweeting since, so he's at least well enough to do that. I thought it was pretty bad when I saw the video myself, but it apparently wasn't as bad as it looked. Carrying a machete to allegedly protect his neighborhood from protesters. The victim confronted protesters while holding the machete and was subsequently assaulted by the protesters. He was transported to an area hospital where he remains in stable condition. This remains an ongoing investigation. And typical shitty people using unaffiliated, unassociated email addresses to lure people into protests that were not organized by Black Lives Matter Atlanta. I'm sure this is not just an issue in Atlanta. So again, if you receive an email from what appears to be a Black Lives Matter organization in your city, double check on their social media. This is actually kind of a funny one. Someone claimed that a protester was trying to board a bus with a stolen ATM when it was actually just a prank from last year. So, yeah. This is the one I thought it was earlier. This is not Derek Chauvin. This is a internet Jonathan Rich is an online troll and vocal Trump supporter. So, someone claims that this guy stole a horse. Nope, this is the Dreadhead Cowboy, known in the community for riding his horse in the city and surrounding areas. And this is Prince and Bella. The Wheel of Time fan in me wonders if he is also a fan of Wheel of Time and the amazing mega horse Bella from that series, but that's irrelevant. Oakland Zoo, no tigers have escaped. That's good to know. Despite online rumors of a tiger wandering the streets. Someone used a still from the TV show Designated Survivor to try to claim that the Capitol had been bombed or was burning. Is misleading. There's no indication the man being arrested is an FBI agent. The poster of one of the earliest versions of the videos also said it was filmed a year ago, so this is potentially inaccurate and not even about these protests. So this is one of the interesting things. Reports of an internet blackout in Washington, D.C. are unverified. According to NetBlocks, a nonprofit organization that tracks service blackouts worldwide, there were no disruptions in D.C. over the last 48 hours. However, its monitoring would not cover technology that can throttle signal in a small localized area. What that means is that there could very easily be small localized jammers that only work inside, say, a city block or so, and don't necessarily completely shut it off, but throttle the signal so that you can't effectively stream or, make usable calls, but it wouldn't get picked up on their software. So there's been a great deal of rumors that DC was under an internet blackout to prevent streams and photos and videos from getting out. This is unverified at this point. This is another case of someone taking the name Black Lives Matter and using it to try to undermine the movement. Someone posted to a buy and sell group why you would do it there. They're going to kill all white families, white babies, just a normal one for these kind of people. And by these kind of people, I mean the shitty people trying to make Black Lives Matter look bad, not actually Black Lives Matter. So, good to know a giraffe did not escape from a zoo in Minnesota. They're from a YouTube video uploaded in 2012. So, yeah, that one I hadn't seen yet. Video from protests in Boston does not show police officers destroying their own vehicle. So this is something I initially saw as this says. They were showing their own vehicle. Apparently someone hucked a rock or something into the windshield of this cruiser, and in order to be able to drive it and be able to see where they were going, they removed the glass entirely. It doesn't help that the video... Let me see if this... there's a bunch of people around talking about, yeah, smash that up. Okay, yeah, so there's definitely protesters smashing it up initially. And then I wonder if it's going to cut to... Yeah. There's another video of when the police were knocking the window out, and a bunch of people were standing around saying, yeah, you missed a spot there, hit it, hit a little harder, something like they thought it was them destroying it to blame. No, here's that earlier video. Yeah, that's the one we just looked at. So, there have been no credible reports of police using live rounds or being authorized to use live rounds at any of the protests around the U.S. Simple enough. Although that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not shooting people trying to kill them, given that rubber bullets can still be lethal, and even if they're not lethal, they can be incredibly damaging. One viral tweet showing a huge influx of donations has mischaracterized where they were sent. They were given to Touchstone Mental Health in Minnesota, a nonprofit focusing on mental illness, not a low-income housing center. Center for Low-Income Housing has put out a call asking for food donations. This is how people responded. There was so much food, it became a distribution center for anyone at all who needed it. I mean, cool. Okay. So what really happened is they requested donations, and once they were at capacity, they were like, we've still got like dozens of bags of food outside. It was donated. Let anyone who wants it come take it. That's some good shit. The man who drove a truck into Minneapolis protesters is not a Ukrainian soldier, Kiev Post reported. They share a name but look nothing alike. Okay. So Bogdan Vechirko is a man who drove a big rig into the peaceful protesters in Minneapolis today. Bogdan Vechirko is also a Ukrainian soldier, but they are not the same person. Okay. Here's the contact information to be a professional anarchist. Good to know. I'll let my friend know. George Soros' Open Society Foundations and the Thirsty County Democrats in Washington State are paying people to be professional anarchists. The OSF and Thurston County Democrats have said it's completely false. And that's ignoring the fact that a professional anarchist is something of a, not a misnomer, the other one. Oxymoron. No, MSNBC did not try to air footage of World War Z and say it's of the protests. First draft reported the man who created the prank has since clarified that it was meant to be a joke. Yeah, you don't want to joke about these kind of things. Not in these kind of heightened tensions. It's just a bad look. A Twitter account that claimed to be run by anti-fascist activists and made violent threats was actually run by a white nationalist organization. Yeah, here's the one we were talking about earlier. Antifa America is apparently run by Identity Europa. Those are some good boys. Yeah. This is not the only instance of fake Antifa accounts being used to incite violence and spread disinformation. Frankly, if you see overuse of the hammer and sickle in Antifa accounts, that's probably a good indication that it is a false flag. Because in my experience, Antifa will not use the hammer and sickle that much because they don't want to be associated with the Soviet Union. And also, I noticed that their flag has IE, so it's not even like a little bit of like unless this was added later or something. Shows Adolf Hitler holding a Bible the same way President Donald Trump did when he stood in front of St. John's Episcopal Church near the White House on June 1st. This is a stretch. Like, how else are you going to hold a Bible to show it off like that? This is, even if this wasn't a Photoshop, like, even I wouldn't be like, oh, history is repeating itself. No, there's plenty of other ways to compare Trump to Hitler without the way he held a fucking book. And yeah, the original photo does not show him holding a Bible, so good, I guess. What are they paying? $200 per direct action. Oh, come on. You can afford more than that, Soros. I need at least 4 figures. A children's hospital was not set on fire by protesters in Alabama or Ohio. The image on the left shows smoke from a fire in an apartment complex located behind a hospital in Columbus, Ohio. Same image was used to falsely claim that a children's hospital in Alabama was set ablaze, which the hospital debunked. So, yeah. And again, no one is going to go after a children's hospital, even if they're shitty protesters or what have you. Or rioters, looters, what have you. So yeah, number of hoaxes to look out for. And again, if you see something fishy, look for an original source. If the original source is the person tweeting it out, take it with a grain of salt. There are ways to verify these things. So, shit, I lost. So the last person I wanted to talk about real quick here today, David McAtee, owner of Yaya's Barbecue in Louisville, Kentucky, a pillar of his community. He gave free food to people in need. He even gave free food to the police, who in return shot and killed him last night, left his body on the street for 12 hours. Probably can't show that. So, when people talk about police not being involved in instigating things, not hurting people, that it's all the rioters and protesters' fault. Let's just see that again in full screen. Yep. Just remember that the police are not there to protect us regular folk. The police are there to maintain the status quo. They're there to protect property and wealth. They couldn't care less about you and me. Getting doored by a police car, gotta love it. A lot of people are going to say he earned a beating or what have you by resisting arrest. What did he do to get arrested in the first place? Also, that is the most non-violent resisting arrest I think you're ever going to see, where he's literally just yanking his arms out and running. He's not attacking them. He's not trying to go for their gun. He's just running. And if you can look at someone running from arrest, especially given what we know now, what we've seen, and claim that they're being more violent than the police, I just don't understand your moral system. Mr. Chivalrous there. Don't hit the women. Don't hit anybody. It's...
I'm not calling him down.
Don't shoot. Don't fucking shoot. Don't fucking shoot.
They're saying don't hit the women, but this person right here is probably the scariest person in the group of police. Judging by my experience with short little women like that, she is the scariest person in that group. So yeah, and then there's this one where the police are physically shoving people so they fall on the ground. You feel like a big man, don't you, dude? Shoving people around knowing you got 10 or 12 of your buddies back up there with weapons and body armor. Police randomly pepper spraying unarmed citizens for sport. That's awesome. Just amazing. Don't know if this is... Yeah, this isn't loading. Oh. Police suck. Well, it's kind of amazing that a group of people who are expected to be the defenders of law, order, and freedom are also the ones who have the self-control of a 6-year-old. I've worked in retail. I've worked in customer service. I know what it's like to have someone screaming in my face, telling me how I'm the reason they're not going to make rent, or they're going to starve, or their kids aren't going to have medicine, or what have you. I know that feeling. And as much as I wanted to, I never took a swing at someone. I never wanted to shoot someone. Yet, police get the wrong kind of people yelling in their face. And it's okay for them to mace them, to hit them with tear gas, hit them with a metal club. I don't think it's okay. But apparently it is these days, so... Power to the people. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. Remember to like, share, and leave a comment because it helps me. Subscribe and ring that bell to help you. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.